How you doing? Mike on Mox News just ended one of his videos with this. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but I'll play it.
One of these days, this war is going to end. Stay cool till that day.
That just reminded me, he said one of these days this war is going to end, is that I don't talk about too much. I don't talk about holding in your mind a vision of this ending and people living happily with without ruling elites and stuff like that. And it just reminded me that even though I need to talk, I believe I need to talk about what their evil plans are and stuff like that, but I also have to present here and there just reminder that, it could all be normal in an instant if we all thought alike. It could be normal in an instant. Just keep in mind the possibility that it could be all normal in an instant. That's what we should do. At least we would be aiding psychically. However you look at that stuff, we'd be aiding an actual change for the better. There would be a counter force. Because if we're all talking just negative, 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 there's negative scenarios in our heads, and our heads are always focusing on the negative, ending up that way. Is the negative just going to disappear automatically? There needs to be a counter pressure against the negative in our minds, I believe. So keep a positive outcome in your mind as a possibility, a real possibility. Imagine, I like imagining a real society where people get along and there's no lies. And not so much that there's necessarily no lies, but that you can imagine a world where people don't lie because it's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? That would be the best. Hello, Pete. That would be the best, not because they can't lie. That wouldn't necessarily be the best. It would be great if people couldn't lie. I mean, ultimately, that would be great. But how do we get at that? What's the best way to do that? People with free will not lying? Isn't that? I think that's the best. What are you doing, baby? Yeah. There you go. Where am I going to put my coffee? People with free will not lying is the best, and we shouldn't need necessarily laws and stuff. If people just didn't do all these skeevy things, if we all knew inside not to do that and we really didn't want to do that sort of stuff, we would have what you and I assume you and I have dreamt of. But I certainly have. So keep that possibility in your mind. Mr. Angus Wangus, he mentioned, if we all tossed out our propaganda boxes, our TVs, if they just didn't exist anymore, that would be a huge win for truth, because it's just propaganda all the time, and people are just going, oh, give me more of that, without even thinking about it. So that would be good, but then they can still read the newspaper or whatever. Propaganda just keeps coming. Lies just keep coming, so ultimately the better solution to that would be if people, everybody, had a real good bullshit meter and it was turned on. If we all had an infallible way of knowing that we're being lied to, all of this would clear up. All the liars who are basically filling up all the positions of power, they couldn't be there because we'd be watching them. Whatever happens, like we suddenly have the ability to see flames coming out of liars' heads, you know, psychic flames or whatever. Oh, this flame's coming out of his head. I wonder if he's telling me the truth. Usually when that happens, that people are lying to me. You know, something psychically, we had this new ability to see when lies are happening. So, you know, it would have to be foolproof. It had to. I don't want to like say it has to be this way, but if it was that way, let's say that if it was that way, where we were 100% knew all the time when someone was lying, that would cure this whole thing. And people could still lie. They would still have free will to go ahead and lie, right? We're not saying don't lie. Nobody's making you do anything you don't want to do. If you want to lie, go ahead. But we're going to know when you're lying. See how perfectly free that is? Everyone's free to not listen to you and your lies and go along with it. So I do imagine a world, you know, a better world, a real better world. It can happen. I don't know how it will happen. I'm just saying I know that it can happen. And if you don't know that it can happen, then maybe you're not applying a positive force without realizing it. You're not applying that positive force that may bring about that real better world. You know, depending on what you believe, whether it's prayer or collective consciousness or whatever, or the universe bringing you stuff, or we're creating our reality or whatever. It's something like that is needed, some sort of a counter pressure. What the elite are really doing is convincing us to dream of a bad future. A bad future where they're in charge of everything, and magically that will be the way it works out if we only have that in our minds. So watch out for that. The manipulators, they're manipulating our minds, right? And the minds are in charge of how things really go, our minds. So watch out for that angle. It's not just bullies physically bullying you. It's they get into your head and get you to imagine scenarios which are not good for you, and then they come true, but the scenarios happen to be good for them. So, I mean, I believe they know all the ins and outs of the nature of our reality, and they just choose to be douchebags. They could be good, but they don't want them. Yeah, this works for them. That's fine, but we need to cultivate our ability to see through what they're doing. And if we could all do that, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a truther or a conspiracy theorist. If you're just a regular person, I would ask you to cultivate your bullshit meter, and just doing that, this whole world would be completely different and much better. Okay, so work on that if you can. I would be very appreciative, because we're all in this together, literally. I've been saying literally a lot, but we really are. So I don't want to ruin your world, and I hope you're dreaming of a better world also. Okay. Good day.